series of our debt mutual fund session. So in today's series, we will just learn how to select debt mutual funds and for the client's perspective, how you can build a client's portfolio and what all the key things you should remember while constructing a portfolio for your clients. So let's start with the thing how to select debt mutual funds. uh, in my previous session, I have told you there are 16 categories in debt mutual funds based on the maturity and the instrument. So you can see on my screen there are the different categories are there. So which category, how what all the parameters you should look at while selecting the debt mutual funds. I'll just take you through the different steps which we as a research person actually follow those kind of steps while coming out with a our recommended list. So it's very important for you to understand how we whenever you see our recommended list, the some thoughts you should maybe come in your mind, like what is a on what basis research actually selects these funds, why not this fund, why not why this fund. So there are a different permutation and combination on the back end which we use. There are the different steps which we use. So mm, I request you all, please thoroughly listen this to understand, so at least your queries on the record list will I would not say will go away, but yes, will minimize for sure. So how to pick right debt funds? So basically the first step which we evaluate is on the macro side. What is the interest rate scenario is going on and what is the yield curve? So these are the two parameters which I have already discussed in my previous sessions. What is the interest rate, how the interest rate impact on the bond and bond prices. The same way on the yield curve, what yield curve denotes, how it impacts, how the macro factors impact on the yield curve, and what basically the yield curve shows or significant. So these kind of things already we have I have covered up in my previous session. So first thing which we evaluate as a research person is interest rate scenario and the yield curve. By seeing the different macro parameters, we try to understand what is the interest rate scenario is going, and going forward what would be the scenario, and the same on the yield curve side. And then we take a call on the broader manner on the interest rate and the yield curve. Suppose by analyzing all the factors, we believe, okay, going forward we might see a more interest rate cut. So the yield curve also is denotes like we should go a little longer side. But if we feel like yes, we might see a interest rate cut, but for a longer period of time we might see a pause, and then it would be in a downward direction. So we might not take a very longer duration kind of a call, but we can go on a 2 to 3 years average maturity kind of a curve, where little capital appreciation would be there, the less impact on the interest rate would be there. So this is the basically two parameters. The second step, when we come out with on a fund basket side, then we select those kind of a funds, and then we see the modified duration of those product. If per se, suppose I'm just picking up a category called short term category, just for to explain you better. Suppose a short term category we just take. So there are in a short term category, as per the rule, the maturity cannot be more than 3 years. But if I am positive on a yield curve of 1 to 2 year kind of a yield curve, so definitely I'll just sort, or I'll just select those funds which is having a maturity of somewhere in between 1 to 2 years. And then we'll see the YTM of what is the YTM of. So YTM is the one thing, and the net YTM is the another. What is net YTM? Net YTM is nothing but whatever YTM is your portfolio is showing minus the expense ratio, because the client has to pay the expense ratio or fund management fees from the funds itself when they redeem the funds. So ultimately, what is the net YTM is whatever is your portfolio's YTM minus the net expense ratio. And the third is the expense ratio. So expense ratio is a part of your net YTM. So whenever the funds YTM is suppose 8% and the expense ratio is 50 bips, suppose 0.50, then your net YTM would be 7.5. Means you can expect 7.5% return from that particular fund if you'll hold that particular fund till maturity. So these are the parameters which we look at in second step. Then the third step where we there are the different the in-depth analysis we do, where the fund size and the credit quality is the one part. Why fund size we consider, I'll just explain you. The credit quality of the portfolio, then the instrument holdings, I mean where the different instrument I have explained. So where the portfolio is overweight, underweight, it's in on CPCDs, corporate bond side, or government securities side. So those kind of instrument holding analysis we do, and then the paper holding things comes. Then we within that particular instrument what all the papers they are holding. So if they are holding on a corporate bond, then what all the papers they are holding within corporate bond. If they are holding an NCDs, NCDs are a part of portfolio, then what kind of papers or NCDs they are holding under that particular instrument. So that kind of this is a full analysis, we in-depth analysis we do in our third step. uh, why fund, I'll just explain you one by one. Why fund size? Basically on a debt side, mostly if you talk about the money market kind of a funds, I'm talking about the overnight liquid, ultra short term, and the money market funds. So these are the funds mostly corporate participate in these kind of a funds. And uh, whenever corporate invests, means the ticket size of the investments is huge. So that is where the fund size comes into the picture. So we always try to suggest the funds where the fund size is not too small, which whenever it's like whenever one corporate or one big client is exiting from that fund, so that can impact on the entire fund's NAV or the returns. So on that perspective, we just try to suggest those funds which is having a decent fund size. It shouldn't be in a liquid fund. It shouldn't be like a 2000 or 1000 crores or 1200 crores, because the volatility on that funds by exiting, if any big investors exit from that fund, would be much higher than the larger corpus funds. So that is what the fund size in debt mutual funds matters a lot. The second is the credit quality. Definitely, we have taken a bet on the yield curve and the modified duration, YTM, everything. Now, in the third step, we just see the credit quality of the papers. So, which the fund is overweight on a triple A, double A. What kind of papers they are holding? Maybe in a double A also. Some good group paper they must be holding, like Tata Group and all. If they are holding on a double A, so we just consider those kind of or do the analysis on those kind of things. The third is the instrument holdings. Definitely, if we are taking a call on the yield curve, then we understand like if we are taking a 1 to 3 years or 1 to 2 years. So 1 to 2 years would be mostly a combination of CPCDs or the corporate bond. So corporate bond, how much exposure is there? and what is the exposure in a CP/CDs, whether it's a overweight on a CD side or the CP side. If more on a CP side means little higher risk than the CD portfolio. So those kind of instrument holding analysis we do. And then the paper holding thing comes. So paper holding analysis, for that analysis we use a model. There is a Elman Z score model is there, which is based on the balance sheet and the P&L of the companies. So we run this model every quarter. So based on that model, though debt mutual funds invest in a lot many subsidiaries and joint ventures kind of a papers, but at least we get a roughly idea through this model, like what kind of a group this is. So we consider, we run that model. Through that model we take the help of to understand what kind of a group it is and what kind of a papers it is holding. And the paper holding, when we do the analysis on the paper holding, the second most important thing comes is the concentration of that particular paper. So we do also evaluate that the funds shouldn't be a overweight on one particular paper, which we have seen in a case of recent defaults, where funds exposure or the credit exposure in a particular paper was around 10% or 9% or 10%. So if anything happens to that paper or paper get defaults, then it would impact much harder on the funds which is holding higher exposure, rather than the funds which is holding a 1 to 2% kind of allocation in that particular paper. So yes, the concentration analysis also we do while doing the paper analysis. So it shouldn't be more than a 5-6%. If it's holding a some government bond kind of a corporate bond like IFCI or some SBI bond or HDFC bond, and holding and the exposure is around 7-8-9%, then it's okay. If any credit side, if it's holding a holding or allocation is more than 5-6%, then it's like a little alarming position for us, and then we do a little in-depth analysis on that particular paper. And if we are not comfortable with that particular paper, we do not suggest the fund. So this is the this is the 3 steps which we generally follow while selecting the fund. So it covers the full macro basis, the yield curve, the interest rate scenario, all the parameters we cover up in a first. The second is the all the portfolio stats we cover up, and the third, what is the fund's basic the core portfolio the fund is holding. So we do in-depth analysis in the third step. So these are the third 3 steps we follow in each and every category of debt mutual funds for coming out with a repo list. So this is our 3-step model. Now I will show you how different it is for the any normal investors to select a fund within a category. So these are the 2 funds example I have shown here. So here you can see the first portfolio aggregates is YTM is 6.18%, and the maturity is around 0.80%. While the second fund's average maturity is around 0.95, where the mod is 0.77 and the 0.71, means less than a year kind of mod, and the YTM is 7.19. So if you look at these 2 portfolios, so which one generally investor will select? Definitely it will go for a 7.19, because here the YTM of the fund is much higher, while the modified duration is marginally there is any difference between the modified duration. But if you look at the portfolio of these 2, that will tell you the exact story why this is 7.19% and why here you are getting a 6.18, which is exact 100 bips lower than the second fund. So in the first fund, if you look at then the AAA exposure, which is the safest exposure, is the more than 50%, which is around 53%, you can say. Okay. While in the second portfolio, if you look at then the exposure in AAA is around 41%. And here, if you look at the AA exposure in the second fund is around 25-27%. While in the first fund, the AAA exposure is around 5 to 7%. So this is the difference. Why the fund is giving you a higher YTR is just because it's taking the higher risk. So I hope this would be clear to you all. So in debt funds, the sorting based on the returns or sorting based on the YTM doesn't actually help to understand, help to select the good fund. So until unless you are not, going in depth and understanding what kind of a portfolio the debt, the fund which you are suggesting is holding, it can be a little risky for you. So this is just for example, I have shown you exact because 100 bips higher return you are getting in a second portfolio just because you are taking a higher risk at the same time. So this is a one example I have shown. The second example also I'll just explain you in the here again you can see the YTM of the product is same. I have taken the example of the similar category. So this is also I have not shown the name of the funds purposefully, but because that might misguide you to understand this one to sell or buy. So that is what I've just removed the name of those funds. But these two funds are from the similar categories I have taken. So I am just trying to explain you or tell you, like within the category there are the huge diversion in terms of YTM, huge diversion in terms of risk. So it's not always like you can sort the based on the return or based on any particular parameters of debt and you can select the debt funds. So until and unless it's not a combination of parameters which I have explained you cannot you might be on the wrong direction. Again, this is the similar categories two funds I have taken. The YTM of the funds is around 11.98, which is around 12% kind of a YTM the fund is offering, while the other side the second fund is offering around 6.63% rate of YTM. So you can see here the huge difference of 5.5 bips difference between fund A and fund B. So why this difference? Again, you can see. Sorry, I have just pasted the chart on the reverse direction. So this is the second one chart is the first portfolio, and the first chart is of the second funds. So in the second fund, in the second fund, you will see the AAA exposure is around 80%. You can see, while on the fund B, if you see then A and double A and below and double A. So there is a no AAA exposure. The portfolio is only built on a double A and a A papers. So that is what the YTM of the fund is on the very higher side. It's around 12%. So that is what until unless you do not see the the holdings of that particular fund, you won't be able to find it out what actually and why the such a higher YTM on the other side. Now the third thing, this is what basically for our research perspective, on what basis we do select the funds and all. So uh, and why if an advisor is fully equipped with all the data and all these kind of a things, if he is able to analyze and he understand very well the interest rate and the yield curve and everything, then I think these are the steps which he can follow. Otherwise, we always be there to support you guys to come out with a reco list. So I have, that is what I have just explained you, our in-house process which we do follow while recommending the funds. So basically now on the client side, if we will come, so why, what is the reason to select fixed deposit or bond if we'll look at from the client's perspective? So definitely there are the four things, which is assurance of return. So any client, if he do the fixed deposit, so he knows very well in advance that he is going to get X percentage on that fixed deposit. Second is a fixed maturity. Obviously he knows like when is my FD is going to mature. Third is in between, any changes as interest rate is not going to impact on the interest rate which is getting on that FD. And no credit risk. So there is a no credit risk on that particular, FDs and all. Similar case on the bond side. So assurance of the return, yes, there is a coupon, fixed coupon, which investors get it. The fixed maturity, they knows like after 5 years the bond is going to mature and they'll get back their principal back. And the third is a no interest rate risk. Maybe there will be a minor mark to market would be there, but at the end, if you'll hold that particular paper till maturity, then there won't be any impact on the principal. You will get back your principal back. Credit risk, yes, the bond in bond, within bond, yes, credit risk is involved, but only the part which investors do not look at is a tax part. So that is where debt mutual funds comes into the picture. So where clients can get benefit. Definitely the other benefits is on the capital gain side and all, but those are the things which depends very much depend on the market and market scenario. But the tax is the one of the uh, criteria where definitely debt mutual funds outperforms the fixed deposit and the bonds, which I have explained you in last session only, how the indexation work and how it helps to decrease the uh, tax burden on debt mutual funds. Now we will understand how to select right debt fund for clients. So yes, for the it's in a very simple pictorial way I have just tried to show. It's like a first is an investment objective. If client would like to invest in debt mutual funds, so what is the basic objective of, maybe the basic objective is to some short term goals he would like to achieve. Maybe he would like to park only the FD money which he wants to invest in FD. So he's looking some alternative. Maybe he's parking for just for liquidity purpose. So that kind of what is the main objective of that investment, you as an advisor should find it out. And the second is the investment period. What is the investment period for that particular investments? So suppose if someone wants to invest for 6 months, 3 months, a year, or 3 year, 5 year perspective. So these, the third one is what is the expected rate of return. So expected, I would say expected real rate of returns. Real means the client's expectation might be a anything or everything, but this is an advisor's role, where the advisor's role comes into the picture. If clients say, I want uh, I want this investment, I want to do one investments for a year perspective, and I'm looking at 10 years 10% kind of returns from debt funds. So it is, which is, we all knows, which is very unrealistic kind of a number. And that is what the advisor's role comes into the picture, to help him to understand what would be your expected rate of returns, which client might not help you to understand. So these two things you can understand from the client's investment objective and the investment period. And expected returns, if he is telling you the real expected return, then it's okay. Otherwise you can help him to understand what could be the other returns, or expected returns from the product or the the kind of investment horizon he is looking for what kind of returns he can, expect from that particular product. So basically, investment objective and investment period, this these three, all the combination of these three parameters actually decides the investor's risk appetite. Maybe a one client, there is a one client who wants to park or who wants to invest in a debt mutual funds, but he wants only, uh, kind of 7 to 8% kind of a returns. He is like, okay, I want a 7 to 8% pre-tax return and I am okay with that. While the other client might, can might ask for the 9% kind of, or nine and a half kind of a percent kind of a returns. Uh, so based on that, the minor, this kind of a variation, or 7 8% to 9% or 9.5%, this kind of a variation we can understand in debt mutual funds. But if one client is expecting a 8% and another client is expecting a 12%, so this such huge variation or standard deviation or volatility we cannot expect from the debt mutual funds. So that is what the range should also be, very much understandable what kind of a returns, debt mutual funds can deliver. So that defines your investors risk appetite, and definitely it helps investors to achieve their goals which they are planning to do. So it's very important to understand first from, I am just, in debt mutual funds, I'm just taking you that this is a bottom up approach. First you should understand the client risk, then the, a market, or then the category, and then the funds. It shouldn't be like a, I am liking a SBI credit, or I am liking a XY credit, or I'm liking a, HDFC short term. Then I am, based on my liking, I am just suggesting to the clients. First you should understand the client's need, what is the client's need, and then based on the that you should recommend to the investors. So I'm just taking you, this in debt, this is like a bottom up approach we always follow. So I'm just, taking you to that only. In the at the end of the slide you will see my view on debt mutual funds. So that is the way to go for a debt mutual funds. So I hope this would be clear, like what all the things you should understand from the clients, which is very important. Now this I have explained you, also broad range of fixed income solutions. Like there is a credit funds, I told you, accrual products and the duration products, and the diversification, which is, a combination of credit and the duration. So these are the product range which I have explained you in my previous session. So credit definitely, based on accrual products which focuses more on the coupon, while duration is the product which focuses more on the macro environment and the interest rate movement, while the diversification is a combination of both duration and the credit. So this is a very small pictorial form I have made it this to make you understand. Basically if you talk to the clients, the what is the client's requirement, basically in debt mutual funds, if any clients comes, even though he is looking for an alternative for savings account, or he is looking alternative for fixed deposit. So based on that and the risk parameters, risk and return parameters, I have, very clearly clarified based on the investment horizon as well, which product is suitable to which basket. So if you look at this first basket, savings account, so this is our risk excess, where it's moving from overnight to ultra short term income funds. So these kind of a product is virtually no volatility. It's very very minimal volatility we see in these kind of a products. And these are the, overnight liquid and ultra short term income funds is the best alternative of your savings account. So this is the, I'm just, comparing or telling you the alternative of best. It might, be different from the different clients, but this is the best alternative for the savings account. if client is or would like to park 1 to 3 year FD, so what kind of products you can offer is like a low to high risk again. So money market to low duration to short term duration funds for 1 to 3 years kind of a FD against 1 to 3 years kind of a FD thing. Again, we see a very less volatility in these kind of a products because the average maturity is not on the very higher side. It's on a low mid a short to medium term kind of average maturity, which is 1 to 3 years kind of a maturity. So we are you will see one very clear thing. Whatever is the client horizon, we are just trying to match the product which is having the similar kind of a maturity. If client would like to invest for a 5 years, then we might offer him a 5 year maturity kind of a product. But if, or we can give him as per the interest rate scenario or the current market scenario, we might offer him a 3 year maturity. But if client is want to invest for a 3 years and we are offering a 5 years or 7 year maturity, which might be quite volatile for that particular investors. So we should look at the keep in our mind like what kind of a volatility that kind of a investors can go with. So these, if we look at the 3 to 5 years kind of FDs, against that we can corporate bond and the credit risk. Again, the corporate bond and the credit risk, there is a on a risk parameters, if you look at, there is a huge diversion, huge very difference between the corporate bond and the credit risk. But yes, based on the investors risk profile, if investor is very conservative, then you can offer him a corporate bond fund. If investor is okay with or very aggressive in nature, then you can give him a credit risk fund as well. So these are the products which is suitable against basic the basic products which is generally advisors query or the client's query generally comes, that my client would like to invest uh, in FD, so I'm just trying to convert him from FD to debt mutual fund, so which is the suitable fund to invest into. It shouldn't be which is the suitable fund to invest into. It should be like which is the perfect category for that particular client to invest into. And then you should think about the fund. So this is basically the I have just shown you the alternative of traditional products. Now here is the pure play. So on the corporate recovery, if someone would like to play like yes, from economy will grow from here on and the things will improve, then credit risk fund and the corporate bond funds is the best play to invest into. While if someone would like to take a bet on the interest rate scenario, then long term bond fund and the gilt fund is the best product to invest into. Where if I am betting on the interest rate will go down from here on, then long term bond fund and the gilt fund is the best fund to invest into. And if we are taking a combination of both, if we would like to take a bet on the both, like a corporate recovery as well as on the interest rate side, then the dynamic bond fund, which can invest across maturity products, across instruments, or across credit rating. So if one is not able to take bet, or he is not clear about like which way we are, or our economy is moving ahead, or which way the interest rate scenario is going, then we can take a bet on the dynamic bond side. So dynamic bond is a very good option for the duration play as well, because fund managers very actively manage these kind of products, but only few products. Again, I would say within the dynamic also there are the different funds, which few funds which is based on the accrual strategy, and few dynamic funds like IDFC dynamic fund, if for example, if we'll say very aggressively managed funds, and then maturity is agar last 1 year, if you look at the maturity of that particular product, which has varies from a 6 to 11 or 12 years kind of, if I'm not mistaken. So that kind of wide variation you see in terms of a maturity within a year. So within a interest rate cycle, then you might see a maturity of as low as 1 year to the higher on the 10, 11, 12 years kind of a maturity. So this is basically the brief about the products and the substitute or alternative of the traditional product. Now, the debt mutual funds an integral part of asset allocation. Why? Nowadays, if you look at last 3 4 years, lot many talk about the debt mutual funds. Before that, people were not investing in debt mutual funds, or debt mutual funds was not that popular. So what is the how debt mutual funds can be an integral part of our asset allocation? So this very simple charts I have just, I would like to show you. This is a chart from 1999 from Equity Nifty 50 and the 10-year benchmark GSEC. So this orange line is your Nifty 50 chart and the blue line is your 10-year GSEC. So if you look at this chart, so this is the movement of your equity and this is your movement of the debt. This is, and the second chart here, it's explaining your 1 year rolling return of since 2000 1999 to 2019, means 20 years. So this is a 20 years 1 year rolling return chart. So if you look at in this chart, the thing is very clear, like from 1999 to 2003, this scenario was like, you can see the GSEC 10 year, because blue is your GSEC thing. So you can see very clearly, like GSEC was outperforming than the equity market. While in the 2003 to 2008 on 8 scenario or 8 picture, if you look at, then here in this chart, in here, you can see the equity actually has outperformed the GSEC. But if you look at the 2009 or 2008 onwards scenario, it's a very mixed picture it is giving you. See, somewhere the equity is down, then your GSEC is performing, then your equity. So it's a very mixed kind of a scenario, which is not clearly indicating which era we are into. So that is what I have mentioned. There is 2008 onwards, there is an absence of clear trend in the between the equity and the debt classes. So which we believe, like because Indian economy is entering into a mature, or the mature kind of economy. So the return expectations from the debt market or the equity market would be in line with the developed economy, where what kind of a returns we are seeing from the developed economy, we will be on the path of that. So that is what the debt is, that is going to be a very integral part of anyone's or the investor's portfolio. So these two very simple charts I have shown here, because 2008 onwards we are not seeing any clear trend from the equity and debt side. So that is what, why investors invest in our debt mutual funds. Definitely one is the steady performance, and second is the, if you see here, the equity and debt correlation, so it's like a mostly on the negatively correlated they are. So they are like, here if you look at, then equity is negative, then your debt is performing. Here if you look at clearly, the debt is outperforming, your equity is underperforming. This scenario also, your debt is outperforming and equity is. So there is some way they have a negative correlation between these two assets. So that is what the combination of these two assets can make a very good or a steady kind of a portfolio. So that is what we believe, like debt uh, debt can be a very or should be an integral part of anyone's portfolio, and it shouldn't be like we are just focusing on equity. You can some part of you can allocate in a debt mutual funds just to support your equity mutual funds or equity portfolio in a downturn. Generally in debt mutual funds, we believe like debt mutual funds is like whenever we the client says, suppose I would like to invest, 1 lakh or 2 lakh rupees, or some good, lump sum amount in debt mutual funds. We always feel debt is the safest instrument to invest into, or invest into in a one shot. So here I'll just explain you, this is just a, more to understanding, or more to understand the myth about the debt mutual funds, or the thought process which we generally, as a normal investors keep in our mind. See, if one would like to invest in a lump sum, then we say, okay, you just invest in a debt mutual funds. I'm not defining here any category, but I'm just, saying debt mutual funds means you can park your money in a 3 years or 5 years, some kind of debt mutual funds. So here I would like to show you, this is the interest rate in India have been volatile in short term. So this is a 3-year index, 10-year GSEC index return of India. So if you look at the returns of, the chart of this 3-year rolling returns, so you will see how volatile 3 years returns on, of 10-year GSEC. So it was as low as minus 1.14 in 3 years, and as high as 12.5 or 12.7% in a 3 years. So this kind of a volatility we have witnessed in, in 10-year GSEC. So this is, I am talking about on the duration prospects. This is like a plain vanilla chart of 10-year GSEC. On that basis, how your interest rate actually, uh, you know uh, the interest rate in India have been volatile. So 3 years is a very short term period. So if you look at the return variation is from minus 1.4% as low as to 12.7% as high. So this kind of a volatility you can witness it interest in Indian debt market as well. And at the second time, as we, I explained you the duration strategy is also there. Though if you'll compare duration strategy with the GSEC or the 10-year GSEC chart, definitely the volatility is much lesser. But if you look at again the credit strategies across, cycles, then they have also, been quite volatile. So it's not like, they have given you a very steady kind of a returns. So it's not like, uh, uh, like you just invest and you will get 7 8 9% kind of a returns from the debt mutual funds. The timing, the which product you are investing into, for how many years, or how, what is the investment horizon of that particular product you are holding into, it's a very important and critical factor when, one invests into a debt mutual funds. So this is the chart basically because people understand like accrual is a very, a study kind of a strategy. So accrual also has given as low as of a 4% kind of a returns to as high as of a 12% kind of a returns. So here also, if you look at, then we have seen a different, cycles. It's going on. So returns are, if one would have earned here 12%, and he will, think, okay, the credit fund actually, or the accrual strategy actually giving 12% return, let's invest in. So the current return of that, particular category is around 6% or 6.5% kind of a thing. So it's not always like from a particular category point of view you can make some range. Okay, short term category actually deliver, 6 to 7%, or the long term, gives you a 7.5 or 8.5% kind of a range. So it's not like that. You cannot, tell clients what is the expectations. The current market scenario and the current factors actually impact a lot to decide what would be your expected rate of returns from the debt mutual funds from different categories. So that is what this is, these two strategies. If you'll see here, the, such a volatile interest rate scenario, and such a volatile, the credit risk as well. So if we look at the volatility in equities, we are seeing a 8,500 crores plus kind of SIP book. So it might not be a very bad idea to do SIPs in a debt mutual funds as well. In a good debt mutual funds where the good credit quality, or the if we are if the interest rate scenario is coming down, so some kind of a duration call also you can take. So it would be good quality, the with some duration. So that kind of a products would be good for the SIP point of view also, and could be a best alternative of your RDs. So if 10 years, I would say, I have not shown here the chart of 10-year G-SIC. So 10-year rolling returns, 10-year rolling return of a G-SIC fund, if you look at, that would give you around 7.5 to 8% kind of a returns. So 7.5 kind of a returns in a 10 years, which is not a bad deal, because on the taxation point of view also, if you look at, then in yesterday's session I have explained you how indexation helps. So definitely you are holding the fund for a 3 years perspective. So that also can help you to improve your post tax return kind of a things as well. But yes, the mark to market or in between volatility client might see, because it's a open ended kind of a structure where there is a no maturity in the funds, and some kind of a volatility based on the market he might see. So that's all from the today's session. Those which we should remember while considering or analyzing the debt mutual funds is a net YTM, which I've explained you, the funds YTM minus the expense ratio, the credit quality of the portfolio, what kind of papers they are holding, triple A, double A, what kind of exposure in those kind of assets. And third is a modified duration, as it's an indicator of interest rate sensitivity. So modified duration is a very important factor in debt mutual funds. So one can find it out, what is the modified duration. Lower the modified duration is, means the lower the volatility. Size, higher the better, as I have explained you why higher size in debt mutual funds matters a lot. The third is the exit load. So why exit load is very important is, if I'm investing in a fund where my investment horizon is 2 years, but the fund is having an exit load of 3 years, does not make any sense. So mostly it's in debt mutual funds, if we are investing in an open structure kind of a products, and debt generally people invest that whenever they require that fund, they can exit. So basically whenever you are investing in a debt mutual funds, you should look at the exit load period, which shouldn't be very high on the fund side. The next is a historical NAV movement graph. So how different market scenario or different interest rate movement, how your actually funds actually performed. So that also actually will tell you the fund strategy, how funds actually behaved in a different interest rate scenarios or different credit situations. So that will help you to understand that. Then what kind of a past return, though it's not at all the right way to look at on a standalone basis, but yes, it gives you some kind of a fair kind of idea what kind of a returns it has generated in recent past. And then the next is the concentration risk. As I explained you, the concentration risk in debt mutual funds matters a lot. As if the fund is overweight on a one paper and paper gets default, so that will be much impacted much harder rather than the other funds which is holding 1 or 2% kind of exposure or having a small exposure. So concentration risk also matters a lot in debt mutual fund. And then last but not the least is the AMC reputation and track records. So On a debt mutual funds, every AMCs has their own expertise and their own way of investing. So for a debt mutual funds, it matters a lot. Even equity also it matters a lot. Every fund manager has their own style. So clearly, if I'm talking about one fund house who is always focus on the quality, 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 and the another fund house which is very good on the uh, credit side. But if one thing we should understand very clearly, if the credit environment is not good and credits are not doing well, the fund house who is having expertise on that side would definitely will get hampered more than the other AMCs. So the same way on the other side as well, if credit is performing well, the definitely the AMC which is focusing more on the quality side would not perform well. So this is like a different cycles in the debt market as well. So in the some cycle, credit performs or credit market performs very well, while on the other side, your the quality funds or quality focused portfolios perform very well. So that this is just to understand, you shouldn't blame the AMC that this AMC is not doing well and all. First you should understand what kind of the strategy the fund house is fund house is adopting, what kind of a strategy they are working on, what kind of a products, what kind of a core expertise they do have. So that's the a very important part to understand from the investors point of view, or basically I would say the from the advisors point of view. So that's all in the today's session. In the next session we will see how we have seen a lot many defaults in the recent past. And sometimes advisors also get worried about that, what we should do in the client's portfolio if some other funds is there in the client's portfolio. So we will show the case studies on those kind of funds, what with the different scenarios, how one investor's decision might be a different from the different the second investor's behavior. So that is all about the behavioral understanding on the debt mutual funds. So thank you everyone for joining in. Thank you so much. If you guys have any queries regarding today's session, so please mail us on mutual@nirmalbang.com. Even regarding to all sessions which we have taken. So day after I'll just take a session on the case studies. Post that I'm just keeping a session on the queries. So whoever have a queries can mail us on mutual@nirmalbang.com. So we will be systematically can answer those queries and explain those queries. Thank you for patient audience. Thank you so much.